You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Every single Tuesday night right here on all your favorite social media networks and back on YouTube. Whoa! That's right, we're back this week. Don't forget to download the audio version available on Thursdays at midnight. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian. And Keith. Oh my gosh, has this become just a normal thing?
3 weeks in a row, isn't it?
It is. 3 weeks he has now graced us.
It's since he was the last
his name.
night with us.
Oh.
I started the week he was gone and it's kept going, so I think it might have been 4
I'm just
weeks.
glad. Okay, so basically you're saying that now the trend will continue.
We're just glad you're here.
Maybe.
Until Sean leaves us
until
again.
somebody dies again.
I won't do it.
He's not leaving.
Oh.
You will forever have to say your name now. How
That's
do you feel
fine.
about that?
As long as no one ever leaves me, I'll say my name.
My collar's messed up. Oh, that's so weird.
Call me by your name.
Oh, gosh.
Ooh. Was that Michael Fassbender?
No.
No, it was Armie Hammer.
Armie
and-
Hammer.
No.
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, yeah. Michael Fassbender was in. He was in. I thought a kind of a gay romance story, though. I thought.
I
just
if
don't
he
remember.
is, I wouldn't surprise
Well,
me.
you know who's not going to be.
I was going to say Joaquin Phoenix
Joaquin
was.
Phoenix is
right,
not going to
yeah.
be anymore.
That's
so.
one of our headlines.
That's funny.
Yeah.
He pulled out at the last minute.
Well,
Because he got
that's all,
cold
folks.
feet. Back on
As he
YouTube with a
should.
bang.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to
we
be
get
talking
banned
about that.
again.
They can't ban us for
He's
just,
just
you
like,
know.
was Michael Fassbender in some gay movie?
I swear he was, but I don't
don't
know.
Honestly, I'm really wondering.
I don't know. I
I
could
think
be wrong.
we haven't even been on air for a minute, and there's people from Kick already wanting us to, get thousands of views. They're just willing to help us.
They
want to get us there.
We need to talk to them during the review and make sure they can help us.
After this opening, they probably won't. But
No. I mean, well, they probably heard it and thought, oh yeah, we want these guys to be heard.
That's
no
right.
doubt. But no, I mean, he was in Assassin's Creed and it was pretty gay. He was
in a movie called Shame in 2011. I don't know what that
Shame.
is, but
he was in X-Men First Class.
Yeah, he was
that
gay
was
in
pretty
that.
gay.
Yeah.
Actually, he did dress. He was cross-dressed in that movie.
He was.
There was the scene where they're talking. I forget who they're talking to, and Professor X makes the person see him in a woman's dress and
Oh.
makeup, and it was played as a gag, so they probably wouldn't do that anymore.
No,
but
they
he,
wouldn't.
But he was making the person visualize Magneto in a woman's getup.
was it a gag or a drag?
Both.
Both?
Yeah, that was bad.
Welcome to the Red Moon
That was
Podcast,
bad.
everybody. I love it. That was great. Keep the dad
The
jokes
40-year-old is in the room. 41.
coming. 41
Yeah.
and truly a dad.
Yes.
I mean, that's what gives you the leeway.
Yes.
That's what gives you the
That's-
ability to do that.
That's right.
That
special
is
power.
correct.
No, we do have a great show in store. We actually kind of went back a few weeks because we're reviewing a movie tonight. We didn't want to go see Borderlands
Yeah, we
because it
skipped
turns
it.
out that nobody wanted to go see it. Definitely the bomb of the box
Yeah.
office and probably of the year.
I think it's safe to say we don't have to see it to know it's a
No.
crap movie.
No.
I was able to get a screener of the movie.
Yeah. I've
And-
thought about doing that.
And the comment section on that screener were the ads are the best part. Like-
okay.
the slot
I got
lights
you.
ads.
The slot
Yeah,
lights
that's
ads
great.
were the best part of the
Yes.
movie.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, and it's funny because I've always wanted the 1995 Mortal Kombat to have one of those immortal, long-lasting this is not the worst it could be, which we already knew. Mortal Kombat Annihilation took that.
I was say
mantle.
Mortal Kombat's not the worst video game movie
Oh,
ever
no.
made.
No.
By far. There's
And-
way worse.
Street Fighter was pretty bad, but
Yes.
I don't know.
I still think I'm curious. but
Borderlands is probably worse.
does Annihilation though top Borderlands, or does Borderlands take the
I
mantle?
feel like Annihilation.
Maybe we
not
should
the worst
watch it.
Oh
either.
yes, it is. Annihilation.
No,
is
U-Balls,
god-awful.
was it Blood Rain he made is probably the worst.
I've never seen that one.
Yeah.
True. I've never seen that.
Yeah, that one's pretty bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to take your word for it. Would you put that above Annihilation?
I'd put it as worse than Annihilation.
That's what I mean, like above
Whoa,
it
whoa,
in
whoa.
terms of worse.
Okay, so Super Mario Brothers.
That's iconic for a
See,
different
that's the
reason.
thing.
That's a cult classic.
But
like,
see,
like 95's
entertaining.
Mortal Kombat.
Yes, but that's the thing. Annihilation's so bad that it can be entertaining as well. Whereas, like,
No, but
the other one's
but no,
just bad. U-Bowl's movie's just, it's not entertaining.
They didn't even try with Annihilation.
It doesn't matter.
You get
It's still
to that
entertaining.
final fight, and that CG is so god awful.
I know, that's why it's so great.
But it's
There's just bad, you don't want to watch it, and Annihilation's so bad. It's like,
like
I won't watch it.
Trolls 2,
I would
yeah.
much rather watch the first one because it has the perfect level of camp and whatever, but
'Cause it tried.
Annihilation's still... Yeah, I don't
Annihilation,
know.
I really have no idea how that got greenlit at all. I mean,
Yeah.
I just they change actors, and like the only one that comes back is Liu Kang.
Yeah.
The actor who played Liu Kang, and it's just like it's just such a terrible movie. Like it is laughable, but really back then I'm just like, how did they think?
I haven't
But then
seen
again,
that in a lot. I want to watch it now. I'm
but
interested.
we got Borderlands, and yeah,
Yeah.
it bombed at the box office. We decided not to review it. We're not really fans of the games. I know you
I
all
am.
have
Oh,
played.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you played it.
I
Yeah,
played the
my
first
brother-in-law
one.
Neil loves Borderlands.
I knew that. I
Yeah.
knew Neil
The first
loved it.
game
Yeah.
was great. That's
Yeah.
like when I saw the trailer, it's like none of these characters are anything like the actual characters in the game. Like none of
Yeah.
the actors they hired
Yeah,
are
no.
anything like the characters in the game.
So I mean, as soon as we saw that, and you already had poor fan service, like they were coming out in droves bashing it. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, a lot of people seem to agree. Like, pretty much anything U-Bowl has made, because he's made a few video game movies.
Yeah.
House of the Dead, I forgot he did. That is way worse than Annihilation.
The,
It's
uh,
terrible.
Okay.
It was a
Is that
shooter.
the arcade shooter?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
He made a movie out of that.
Wow. I didn't know that.
He made Alone in the Dark with Christian Slater.
I have seen that.
I've got to see that.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
should. I haven't seen
It's
it.
bad.
Okay, he did Blood Rain, which I knew was bad. I've
Who
seen
did
that
Silent
one.
Hill?
Oh,
Silent Hill was horrible.
It was bad, but I don't think it's Annihilation bad. It's just boring.
Yeah.
And that
Sean
one
Bean
made-
dies.
Yeah, well,
Of course.
Yeah.
I
He also made Postal. U-Ball has made he made Far Cry. When was that a movie?
Was Postal the one with Michael Douglas? Because that's a good movie.
No, not that Postal.
No, this is one that's based on the game.
The
and
game
the
Okay.
game was
yeah.
also not even like
No.
it's kind of a cult favorite, but
Okay.
it's I know Postal 2 gets ripped
Now,
on all the time.
all of those are at the bottom. This is a list by Collider. All of those at the very bottom, just above those is Annihilation. So U-Bowl has collectively made all the worst, and right above him is Annihilation, according to Collider.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I mean, U-Bowl. I mean, we talked about him way early on.
I think
in
we
the
call
podcast.
it's UWE. I think it's actually pronounced like we've looked this up before, like UE or something weird.
Who cares?
Ew.
We just know that
Yeah.
the Germans have funded all of his ventures, and he writes them as tax write-offs because
Yeah.
he can. And it's like, well, no wonder you keep getting greenlit to make these terrible movies.
You know, when your country pays for all your movies, it's
well,
like
and I
you make
basically-
whatever you
it's,
want.
It's like he caught on to the trend of video games as movies before it was cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, yeah, obviously
I
you
think
have
they
your
literally
notable
were just
ones.
games he liked, and he's like, I'm gonna make a movie out of this.
Or he
House of
just-
the Dead would be great.
They knew they had a following, and I
Yeah.
think what it was is it's like you had your one-offs like Super Mario Brothers,
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat. You had these string of like
Yeah.
pop culture ones that did well.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, well, I'll just be the video game director guy, just like freaking Roland Emmerich is the disaster flick guy. But it didn't pay off.
I really wish they would get together and make a movie together. That would be epic.
Yes, that's what we need.
It would
That
be
is what we
epic.
need. I agree.
Maybe
That
throw
would be
M. Night in
fantastic.
there too.
He's rapidly approaching it. Alrighty, guys, we do have a great show. Of course, the movie that we ended up going back to and revisiting that we skipped ever so like maybe a month ago was A Quiet Place Day One.
We went and saw Horizon instead.
Yeah.
I'm
And-
glad we did.
It's funny because it's like which decision would have been the better one, and honestly, well,
Well, you'll find
hear
out.
You'll hear
Yeah.
the review.
You'll hear the review. So let's just dive right into it. Here's our review of A Quiet Place Day One. The following is a review by Keith Cheatham. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively conquer the box office this weekend as Deadpool and Wolverine maintain the #1 spot while passing the $1 billion mark, and Blake Lively's It Ends With Us takes second place. Twisters comes in third, leaving Borderlands in fourth its opening weekend. Borderlands' poor reception and terrible reviews come as no surprise. Deadpool and Wolverine has conquered the summer, so why see Borderlands, a movie that's obviously the exact opposite of the type of fan service and loyalty to the source material that Deadpool is? The answer is, don't. We didn't. Instead, we are reviewing A Quiet Place Day One, a film we missed to review Kevin Costner's Horizon. At the time, we believed we had once again chosen poorly. Horizon was uninspired, and The Quiet Place prequel did well for itself, garnering good word of mouth and a decent box office intake. Now, given the choice between reviewing Borderlands and A Quiet Place Day One, have we chosen wisely this time? Written and directed by Michael Sarnowski and starring Lupita Nyong'o as Sam, a terminally ill cancer patient with a pet cat named Frodo and a jaded view on life. When the alien creatures we've come to know from the Quiet Place films first arrive on Earth, attacking New York City as all alien invaders want to do, Sam and Frodo must navigate the city, trying to survive and get some pizza. Due to one of the many hijinks Frodo gets himself into, Sam meets Joseph Quinn of Stranger Things fame, playing Eric. And lots of suspense-type set pieces familiar to anyone who's seen the first two movies will occur as Sam and Frodo, and Eric, trek through the ruins of New York in search of pizza. There is some more nuance to the plot than that, but really, not much. A Quiet Place Day One delivers a lot of what we've seen before and offers nothing new. The trailers promise us the beginnings of the alien attacks, hence the name Day One. The trailers tease a film showing us the creatures overwhelming humanity and the fall of civilization. Presumably maybe even how humans learn to combat or else survive against this threat. What we get to see is Lupita Nyong'o lose consciousness while everything I just mentioned happens off screen, before she comes to. That's right, once Sam awakens, we are more or less right back into the world established by the first films. We don't actually see the apocalyptic world develop, but instead of a secluded or rural setting, we now get to watch people try to silently navigate the big city in order to survive. And that's really the only thing that sets this film apart, is its changing in setting. Some character development is attempted between Sam and Eric, but I never found either particularly engaging and ultimately never cared about their fates. Sarnowski attempts touching and heart-wrenching moments, but all feel generic and fall flat. The story is straightforward and likewise nothing original compared to its predecessors, and even the suspenseful moments lack tension and feel pretty cut and paste. What's worse is when many of these suspense scenes or even emotional scenes involve a cat named Frodo, the whole thing becomes laughable. Going from two movies involving surviving while protecting a newborn baby, the future of humanity and an innocent life, done realistically with real tension, to a movie where the lead is trying to survive while keeping a cat alive feels like a parody. It's shocking to me how well received A Quiet Place Day One was, though in some regards it is just generic enough, offering just enough suspenseful moments to captivate the casual filmgoer. It's a pale imitation of the superior first two movies, but just close enough to entertain. For me, however, Day One is severely lacking in all the things that make its predecessors such amazing films. Be it relatable, well-written characters with believable motivations, actual heartfelt writing and dialogue with relatable adversity, hair-raising tension and suspense, with smart and witty characters that found clever ways out of tight situations, Day One just feels like another uninspired cash grab, just competently enough made to keep the franchise going. I give A Quiet Place Day One 1.5 out of 4 stars. Well, there you have it. Oh, I guess we chose poorly. Well, or wisely back when we chose Horizon. We rated it better than
I
this.
actually did like Horizon was long and overbloated unnecessarily. I still found it more interesting than Day One.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah. So I told y'all just before I cut the mics back on, I ended on that marionette scene for a reason, because up until, and that's within the first 10 minutes of the movie, I'd say.
Yeah.
Up until that point in the movie, I was hooked. I was actually kind of like, it was interesting. I'm like, oh, okay, she is a cancer patient. And then the way she kind of had this outlook on life. And then when she goes, the way the scene started with this marionette and he comes out on stage, it was like, it was slow enough that I'm like, oh, he's building some moments here. Like, I don't know what this is going to develop into, but I'm intrigued to find out where this is going. And of course, it's abruptly halted. Then they immediately try to throw you into the action and make it seem jarring that we were going for the slow moment, but no, we're not slow anymore. Now crap's hitting the fan and we're back we're now in the invasion. And as you described in the review and even said it while we were watching it, it's cookie cutter at that point. I mean, there's really no reason for this movie to exist in terms of expanding on the world we already knew from the first two films. It doesn't have the same kind of craft or tact that the first two films did in keeping you interested. There were subtle little things here and there that just bugged me about this movie in terms of keeping quiet. Several scenes where I'm like, they're running around with shoes on, and I'm like, wouldn't that have been the first thing you took off so that you were quiet?
They show in the originals like they were like walking on trails of sand
that they had laid down, and they're walking barefoot.
Yeah. And in this one, they're even in a concrete jungle. I'm like, okay, yeah, but you could still relatively maintain a quiet, softer footstep by not having anything on your feet. And if you're making long treks, it's like you would have covered your shoes or covered your feet in something else that would have given you comfort and cushion. But you would have thought about these things, and there was just none of those methodical things thought out.
There was nothing clever.
No.
Like, you get one moment, like I remember, like the guy throwing the brick and causing the car alarm to go off. It's like, okay, that's smart in a city setting. Like
we also saw it in the trailer.
Yeah, and we did. We saw it in the trailer. But like literally, that was the wittiest thing they did as far as like distracting the creatures in the big city.
Yep.
I'm like, there was nothing in this movie that like they used the setting of being in the city to really make it stand out or differentiate.
First thing I would have done is climbed on one of those L trains and set it to go and let it go, because the trains make so much noise.
Yeah,
that the things would have just followed it all around the city, and then you walk the opposite direction.
Which is crazy
there's so
too,
many different clever things you could come up with, but this movie had none of them.
And even in the moments where they tried to be, it's like, okay, it starts raining, so then they can softly speak. But even like to the point where they're timing when lightning flashes to when thunder strikes, and they can bust like
yell
or to bust through a door, and I'm just like, this is stupid. You can't time it that well. I mean, I'm just like, there were moments where, hell, even if you were not knowing where the monsters were, you could have been down in a basement or underground, like in some scenes they showcase. But it's like, there's ways in which you could seclude yourself that they wouldn't either, one, be able to get in, or they wouldn't be able to hear you. Well, that they didn't have the luxury of in the rural setting, because they were in the middle of like hundreds of miles away from civilization, and they're out in a farmhouse, and it's like, okay, doesn't matter if you're in the basement, you can hear stuff down there. You're not as deep underground. Like, there's just little things there, like you said, they didn't take advantage of the setting of the city as well as I thought they were promoting in the trailers. But also just even in the discovery of how they defeat or deflect from these monsters.
Everything happens off, which we know from the first two movies how. But it's like, supposedly this is like, again, day one.
Day one, yeah.
She gets knocked out.
They're not supposed to know this yet.
She gets knocked out when she wakes up. Everything that's already established in the first two movies, like, everybody already knows. I'm like, how long was she out? Like a day, days, an hour? I mean, she wakes up and the military's flying through the city yelling, be quiet, head for the water.
On their loudspeakers.
Yeah, on their loudspeaker while they're getting attacked because they're flying through the buildings and they're just dropping down from the... I was like, that was stupid too. I'm like... You see them scaling the side of the building. Why would you fly a helicopter low enough for them to jump off the building?
Because they had to have them knock something out of the air. Like, they have to have that.
It was just dumb.
And also, one of the other just horrible aspects of the film I thought was, I just couldn't care for, was the stupid cat.
I hated it.
Look, people will get on us about, oh, you hate animals. I don't care. I got a dog right here that I love.
No, I love animals, but if I have to survive...
And here's the other thing.
Me or the cat.
I honestly thought the reason they chose a cat was also convenient. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, usually in a movie like this, I'm like, I want you to put throw everything at this character, put all the odds stacked against them so that it can be unique. Like you said, even within the first two movies with the child, like whether she's giving birth in the first movie or in the second movie when she has a baby that she's got to tend to.
How do you keep the baby quiet in order to survive?
And they try to supplant that method in this movie with the cat. And I'm like, it's a freaking animal. I don't care if it's her care animal. I'm like, one, you couldn't have made it a dog because you knew the dog would bark immediately and give away their position. So they're like, well, we'll give it a cat because a cat's kind of, docile and quieter.
Keeping an innocent life alive, or a cat. And I'm just like, no, just let the cat go. And it's not even just keeping it alive. It's like all the crap that it gets into, like that, they hunt it down to save it, or they traveling through the sewers or swimming through the freaking ocean to a boat, and this cat's just with them. They go underwater for a portion of the sewer section. I'm like, how'd you keep the cat underwater with you until you got out? It held its breath long enough with you. You get out, and then just like, here's the cat. I was just like, it really ticked me off. I was like, it's so unrealistic.
It was. And then it's funny, too, because there was one scene with the guy saving the cat, and I thought he's putting himself in such ridiculous odds. I'm like, there's just no way.
No.
I'm
just
sorry.
like,
If it's your life or this cat's, whether you're doing it for this girl or not, it just didn't make any sense. I mean, one of the positive things I can give it, Lupita Nyong'o does a fine job performance-wise. I mean, even he does.
They're not bad performances, but the characters are dull.
Yeah, you don't care. Yeah, you don't care about them.
Right. The writing, and it's not even bad writing. It's just the writing as a whole. The dialogue is fine, but the writing of the scenes that are made, it's too contrived and just things fall into place too neatly to you already expect their motivations before they happen. It doesn't seem organic at all. And then my last real big complaint is a huge plot hole. I guess because people don't have iPods anymore, they think we're stupid. But and now, granted, I could be wrong and maybe I'm looking too much into the scene. Spoiler alert for anybody who has not seen this movie. So turn away now, turn it off if you don't want the end spoiled for you. She, of course, being a cancer patient, sacrifices herself to save her friend so he can get away on this ferry that's taking everybody away. She wanders back into the city alone and finally decides to just let these things take her. And she gets to the point right before it cuts to credits and decides to just unplug her iPod to let the music burst out. And it cuts to credits with the music blaring. And I'm thinking...
The iPod was in a dock with speakers. She unplugged her headphones so that it would come out the speakers. She had like a little speaker
It wasn't
thing.
with her.
I didn't
because
remember
the thing she docked in the bar was to charge it.
Yeah.
And it was a straight up iPod.
She just had an iPod
Okay, so
with
I thought she had a
headphones.
speaker when she pulled her headphones out of the speaker because it wouldn't play when you pull it out of the
It would
iPod.
not only pause the music, but it also
would
didn't
pause.
have speakers on that version of iPod.
Well, no iPod had
None
a
of 'em.
speaker. Not like those, anyways.
I don't even think the iPod Classics.
No, the Touches didn't either. Do they?
The Touches did. I think.
Okay. Well, that would be the only one. Yeah, none of the the scroll wheel iPods had speakers.
Right. So I'm sitting here thinking already the music would stop playing.
Yeah.
And then also, there's no speaker on this iPod. So how in the hell did it even start blaring
Because
music?
the one she has is a classic iPod.
Yeah,
isn't
it is.
Actually,
the
no.
brick.
I think
wasn't
I think it was like a Nano.
It was a Nano.
It was something small. It was not even. I have to rewatch.
I thought it was the hard drive iPod, like the one that's the brick.
It might be
with the steel back on it.
I'd have to
and all
look
that.
at the scene again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it definitely was something that I'm like, okay, you're trying to.
But I thought the same, and I thought when I rechecked it, I thought it was in a speaker, but I could be wrong. I could be mixing up the bar scene with that.
Yeah, I remember her placing it in there to charge it, and she was happy because it was charging. But I'm sitting here thinking, like, when she leaves, she just has her iPod again. I'm like, they don't have speakers.
No.
But yeah, big plot hole. That
It was bad.
Excuse me, coughing.
Hike up a lung there, but
I need a drink. Just somebody talk.
I think just the monsters. I'll start talking. But
Go for it.
I thought the monsters or the aliens were just when you have that many of them. I don't think it's scary.
I don't think
it's
they
when
look
it's just
as good either.
No. Oh no. It's just not as menacing as when there's one or two that are hiding out in the woods around your farmhouse waiting for somebody to make some sound. When there's just hundreds of them, it's just no longer. I mean, it's still like it's urgent. Yeah, they're gonna die if these things get them. But I just didn't think the creatures were as scary when they're not hidden and they're not just bouncing out. When you're unexpected. It's like when you've got. When they open the door in the swivel door and the suitcase falls over and then all of them just start coming down, I'm like, yes, I would be running for my life, but as an audience member, this is no longer scary. There's just like bugs now. They're cockroaches.
No, you're right, 100%.
But in the first movie, they burn one, and
she does have the boombox.
Oh, she has it with her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here, hold that up then.
Well,
we're wrong.
I pulled it up on my Plex.
Does she hold it up like say anything? Because I can't remember.
No, she just has it in her.
Okay,
it's just
she's got it. Yeah,
it's just very quick.
Yeah.
It's in the side of her hand. It's kind of blurred.
Okay.
Okay.
So plenty of them will hear that and come kill her.
Yeah. So, and that was the whole point.
Yeah.
But it's just like, all in all, I'm just like, even the whole self-sacrificial scene.
Yeah.
I just thought, one, it was kind of predictable, but also I just felt like it was this stupid subversion of expectations that really didn't subvert them. I'm like, well, she's dying of cancer.
Yeah.
She clearly knows that she doesn't have a way to survive.
And I think that was
this.
supposed to be like this noble sacrifice because she knew she was going to die anyways. But I was like, I don't care enough about the characters to care that she's sacrificing herself for her stupid cat and this guy. And also, we literally just watched a dude throw a brick at a car and the alarm go off. Why couldn't she just set an alarm off and then go with the guy? Other than she already knew she was dying. Like, I just feel like there were so many other ways.
She didn't want to suffer
Yeah.
the cancerous death.
They wanted her to have that sacrifice.
Quick ending.
So
Yeah.
Well, and like you said, I mean, it kind of goes back to what Sean was just bringing up. They made it seem like in that final scene as if somehow they were encased or enclosed enough in this area, surrounded by them enough that they weren't going to be able to escape with a distraction. And I'm like, well, that completely undermines the scene where, we saw them escape in these, it wasn't even a clever way, but in this other way before, where I'm like, they couldn't have come up with something last minute right there. Like, they're just,
it was
there,
dumb.
there were just moments that just didn't
It doesn't
play
make
out.
sense for her to really have that little boombox either, because it's like once it's charged, why don't you just plug your headphones into the iPod? Why is the iPod in the speaker with your headphones in the speaker other than you need
Right,
it?
why would you even take it?
Yeah, because they had to in order to have that scene where she pulls the headphones out, and it's like that's the only reason, because it's like if you have an iPod, it's like unless you're going to try to keep charging it on this. I guess she took it to charge it, but
I'm
has
being
to
honest,
rely on power.
the old iPods or the regular headphones that she had, like you can pull those out and turn the volume up, and you can hear the music through those headphones.
Oh yeah,
like
it probably
they're
would've been
loud
loud
enough that you can't.
It just the whole thing was contrived.
Yeah,
either way. It was
that's-
just to make so she has a way to sacrifice herself at the end. She could have just walked out and just started screaming. It wouldn't have mattered.
That's what I thought she was gonna do. I honestly kept thinking, I was like during that scene where the thunder rainstorm is, or the thunderstorm is going off, and they're sitting there screaming just to get out their frustration.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is just stupid melodrama. I'm like, if you really thought your lives were at risk and this was the world you were facing, I'm like,
you wouldn't be so.
You're
lax.
not. You're not going to be doing that. It doesn't matter if you think you can get away with it. I just thought, like, that's what ticked me off. Is there were so many moments in this movie, just like you described. Like, it was convenient for the plot, so that's why they put it in there. They needed her to have that moment where she unplugged the music, and they were like, it was like the director had this idea of, it's going to cut to black with the credits as soon as the music plays, and we're going to know she's dead. And I just like, okay, so what? I mean, you wanted to have a moment where, he throws a brick through a window, and that's how they make their great escape. There were just moments that played too heavily in the hand of, we need this to work out for the characters.
Yep.
And it didn't seem organic. And it was just, I was just as shocked as you wrote in the review by how much positive buzz this has gotten, and how much reception it's gotten.
I think it was just a safe movie. It's not woke, so again, audiences went and saw it. It was just another in a franchise where fans were, I think, casual audiences just saw it and thought, oh, well, it's got enough action and enough suspense to please, I think, just casual viewers who like the first two movies, and it doesn't beat you over the head with anything.
The first two movies were so good that I think it's like, oh well, if this is but then you get in there and you realize that this isn't John Krasinski, this isn't Emily Blunt, like this is some other story, and it's not even directed by him, like the
or
first
written. I think he wrote a story treatment.
He didn't produce. His name wasn't
I don't
even
think
in
he
the.
produced it.
No.
On IMDb, I have to be correct in this. I'm not sure. I may be wrong. I want to say that it just is like the only contributing factor he had was the characters.
Yeah, that's
or
probably
story.
it. I think
And
he has
maybe,
a writing
loose-
credit, and I think it's just because of they're using his. It's because it's his original idea.
But the first two movies drew people in to see it, and But I would have I'm glad I didn't go to the theater to see it, because it's one of those that I would have left, and anybody I know that is talking about it, I would have been like, just don't go see that.
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
Go sit through 3.5 hours of Horizon.
Hey, I'll give Kevin Costner this, and no, it was not rewriting the Western at all. It was supposed to be a love story to it, but I was more intrigued with the concept of returning to like old school, like this being a love letter to Westerns. I was more intrigued by what Kevin Costner was wanting to do with that film than this one.
Yeah.
I mean, it took more bold steps in being something unique than this movie did.
Yep.
It literally, like you said in the review, just glommed onto the success of the first two films to try to continue this franchise that sadly, I don't know. it received positive buzz. I don't know how it fared in terms of box office enough to warrant more sequels.
I think it did decent at the box office, but I don't know as far as like against budget. Like,
because I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong. I know that Horizon obviously came out at the same time this did, and it did not fare as well. I think at the time I'm forgetting. I think it might have been Inside Out 2 that was still going strong when this movie came out. But then the week after, I think, was Twisters. Or
because Twisters and Deadpool have been pretty much the top two of the summer. I mean, Deadpool definitely up there.
Yeah, it's been the top of the year almost.
Not including Inside Out as like a family film, but I mean, technically Inside Out and Deadpool are the top of the year.
Yeah, both broke $1 billion, which we're going to get into.
I mean, it's crazy for sure. Let's see.
I forget what came out the week after A Quiet Place Day 1. It pushed it down to the bottom of the list.
I'm trying to see if this is the total.
Well, and I was
360 million, which is more than the second one did.
Oh wow! Then it
334 million worldwide.
Then it's done fine.
Yeah, Quiet Place Part 2 brought in 296, and then Part
1 I think was a runaway success.
Yeah.
I mean, well, we know that was John.
Oh no, okay, I got that backwards. Okay, this one did make the least, but it did 260. The first one was 334 million. The second one was 296, and this one was 260. So they've gradually dropped a little bit.
Yeah.
But that might be enough because I don't know what the budget on this one was. Budget plus marketing was probably around 110.
And that's true too, because
maybe I'd say 150 million on this movie.
Budget was 67.
67 million.
They've all had small budgets. I knew the first
I didn't know
were.
this one.
Well, this one was
small.
way grander than the first two. Yeah,
I'm actually shocked by that. I thought it was up in the 100 millions easily. Wow. Okay. Well, and
mean,
even marketing probably pushed
the first
it to
one
that.
was 17, so it did have a much bigger budget than. Let me see
but
what the
still,
second
any
one.
movie where you're in the city and you gotta get people off the streets and pick times to film it when people aren't. Yeah,
I mean, they did well with the budget, but I mean. But I also think it does show in other areas because see the creatures don't look as good to me in this one.
True.
No.
So they downgraded the look of there to have as many as they had,
and it also showcases that sometimes less is more. And I hate to say it, but it's like in this situation, I think more budget with more spectacle in their mind didn't equate to what you actually see on screen. Now, obviously, critics and audience members who enjoyed it would argue
Critics
differently.
like it better, but audience gave it 73%.
Yeah,
and that's
it's
gotta
just
be
above, just right in that fresh. I think 60 and over is fresh on Rotten
But is
Tomatoes.
that well? It is. But is that lower than the first two films, critic and audience score wise?
I know it is audience score. I'm pretty sure.
I think it is too. It's definitely got to be the lowest of the three, I would think.
Let's see.
It's still interesting because I don't know.
It's like, if you're looking at A Quiet Place Day 1 on there, why don't they have a
They
link
used
to the
to
other
have,
movies?
yeah, they used to have in some like franchises. They'll say this is part of this series, and you could click on them.
More like this, maybe.
Let's see. Yeah, the first one was 96% critics, 83%
the
audience.
second one's 91 and 92.
Okay.
Oh wow! So
Yeah.
the number. Wow, I didn't
Yeah,
realize
people-
people like
audiences
the
like
second
second
one
more.
more than the first one. That's interesting.
But so yeah, when you're looking at
I still think the first one's my
in
favorite.
the 80s and
yeah,
90s range between audiences and
terrifying.
critics on the first two, whereas this one only managed 70s with audience. And what was the critic score? I think it was only in the 80s, right?
On what?
On the newest one, day one.
It was 86 and 73.
So yeah, definitely lower for both. And I mean, I agree with that. I'm surprised critics are as high as they are. It being in the 70s, especially the low 70s for audiences, I can kind of see that.
See, I can't remember because I know Longlegs was in between that right before Twisters, but it was definitely much more an indie hit. It did really well.
It did well, but it wasn't
it
high.
It wouldn't have trounced A Quiet Place, but A Quiet Place came out at the end of June. Twisters didn't come out till 2 weeks later because we were at the lake when it came out.
Yeah.
So it might have had just those few weeks on the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been
The
at
biggest
number
thing
one.
it was up against was Horizon, I thought.
Inside
in the
Out
theater.
2.
And
Inside Out 2 was out at the time,
Yeah.
and I think that one is what overtook it and kind of overshadowed its success. But I think obviously it did marginally well to get above a $200 million, which I would say is successful, not only making its money back, but
it did well
it
enough.
no doubt warranted, I think.
I can see them trying to make another.
Oh yeah, easily. It definitely has enough weight behind it to do that. But yeah, 1.5 out of 4 stars. I mean, we know we're going to get a new
stretch
one.
the concept.
Right.
That's the problem with every modern movie that becomes a hit, is that they want to turn into a massive franchise, and not everything it needs to be that. I think A Quiet Place, The first one stands on its own
let's-
just fine. The second one, I think, actually adds enough to warrant its existence.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Let's at least, this is what we were going into with some of the excitement about it being day one, is not only was it the cityscape that intrigued us, it was, we already know we start at least a year or two, technically like a year and a half in the first and second movie into the invasion. And so what we were thinking was, okay, we weren't thinking hordes of these things land and then all of a sudden cause the chaos like they do in this film, where they seem to make it, they allude to. We were thinking like, oh, they're going to land, and it was going to be a lot more of an intimate way of seeing how does it land in the city, and how do these people deal with it without knowing the ways to beat them or the ways to escape.
Yeah.
And it was going to be a lot more introspective of, a completely new way of looking at what was unleashed in the first two. The first two were definitely in rural settings.
Yeah.
They dealt with, far more intimate, storylines of this close-knit family. And I was hoping and expecting to get something similar. And I just felt like in this, we upped the ante to like an action thriller. And I'm just like, it just didn't feel the same as the first two movies. And I'm just like you said, at that point, that's where I am wondering, like, okay, it's like you realize there was no gas left in the tank, and yet you're just going to be willing to drive it into the ground because now you
They're
just
trying
want
to turn
money.
it into a big, because I mean, he has stated he had plans to make a third movie, and there's not a set in stone release date for that or production date, whether he's still planning on doing it or not. But I mean, if John Krasinski makes a part 3, I would still see it. That I would be interested in just because it's him. But it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, so knowing that he still has an idea for a third that you may or may not do at this point.
And that he wasn't involved in this one.
But this one, it was kind of, they were like, well, we're going to let him do part 3, but we're still going to make a franchise, but now we'll have a prequel.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you see that. It's like, we'll still have part 3 on the table at some point, but then in between, like John Krasinski doing his thing, there'll be other directors making their Quiet Place movies.
It felt like Home Alone 2, but Home Alone 2 is a cult favorite.
But
But ultimately, it's like Home Alone 2 is a carbon copy of the first movie.
Yeah.
It's just
It's more like Home Alone 3, where they just change the
Yeah,
cast
change
and
the kid.
characters.
Yeah.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right, and exactly. better comparison. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a pass.
Alex slammed the toilet seat down on his thing again.
First time I remember
ScarJo.
seeing ScarJo and
He's talking
thinking
about some little boy's penis.
well, and it made her into Black Widow. She's a star.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because as a kid, I have no she wasn't ScarJo then. She was, but I mean, she wasn't famous.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I know I'd probably seen her in something else before I saw her in that. Maybe not though. I don't know.
What's funny, like
the
knowing
next big role that I know that really catapulted her. Well, that didn't catapult her. The one that catapulted her was Lost in Translation.
yeah,
That's the one that I think exploded her career.
yeah.
Into the stratosphere.
It's funny because I watched that movie a lot as a kid. I don't know why, Home Alone 3, but I mean, it came out when we were in elementary school, so I actually liked it. Well, we were still in elementary. But watching it back then, I didn't know who she was, and it wasn't until like rewatching it after knowing she, because I still never connected that was her until I watched it again older and be like, oh crap, I didn't realize that was young ScarJo. It's just weird.
Young ScarJo.
It's weird.
All right, let's move on to our headlines.
Let's do it.
Please.
Ba, 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 ba. It's not working. I can't push it.
No, keep getting excited over there. You were slamming your fist.
I was
drumming.
Well, because see, A Quiet Place has more sequels than we need, and there's other things that are going to get more sequels than we need.
That's exactly right. We could start off with that headline.
Well, I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine crossed 1 billion.
He just had to switch it up.
I'm just throwing them all over the place.
Did it pop up?
It did.
It did.
Oh, there it goes. It's working.
It's working.
I just pray every week
that you take it off there because it's all you have to do.
that you will. No, I'm glad it's on there because we fought for so long to get that one on there. But I just pray
there it is.
that you will push something else.
Oh, I do push other things.
No,
just
you
not
don't.
as much. No, I push
You
those
push
every time.
that, and you push. I hate you.
Yeah,
all the time.
and then every now and then there's something else in between.
I want the Twilight Zone one. I don't know why.
There's got to be a good reason for that one.
All right.
We'll get there.
But yes, we are talking about Deadpool and Wolverine crossing $1 billion. Now look, there's something to be said here because the title of this episode is A Return to Normal. And the reason I put this on there was not just because I'm talking about Disney, but now he's just going to randomly
Well, I
push.
mean, you said a return to normal from
Yeah.
Disney just seems like the Twilight Zone to
that's
me.
right.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And I actually, and it's funny because I didn't really mean just with Disney.
Yeah.
I meant more in terms of maybe industry as a whole, like a shroud over Hollywood, whether they like it or not.
Oh, yeah.
That in ways they can't control.
Well, they're
You-
being forced, to...
Well, the thing is that people are going to see, like even the article that I linked to about, this crossing $1 billion. I think it was from
GameSpot.
Oh, okay, not that one. I'm sorry. There's another one just underneath it about the second place movie.
Oh, Borderlands
beating out,
flopping hard?
Borderlands flopping, and the
Yeah,
second place
IndieWire.
being, what's her name? Ryan Reynolds' wife.
Oh, Blake
Blake
Lively.
Lively.
Ends with Us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It ends
Yeah.
with us coming in at number 2, and it being
Yeah.
a surprise $50 million, and they
I'm
want to
not
go
really
in.
that surprised by it. I know Hollywood is, but I'm
Hold
not.
on, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. But it's like it's interesting because they wanted to talk about how, oh, well, maybe it's just, all of this like woman power and what it has to do with, and these
Yeah.
mega fans of this author and how she's got her own fan base, and we've got a woman finally running for president. I'm like, well, I guess you forgot about Hillary back in 2016.
Yeah, she lost.
And it's funny because I'm like, they're ramping up all of these things, of course, just again to drive the message. And I just found it funny because I'm like, no, this is like any freaking rom-com. And even though I know the seriousness of the matter, because it's apparently about a woman getting out of an abusive relationship.
It was based on a book that a lot of women read.
Right.
My wife in her book club read this book.
Well, okay.
and
My
went and
sister
saw the
read
movie.
it.
Do you know anything about this book, Sean?
I know nothing about it.
Okay.
Because again, it's a book that women read.
But that's and this is where I'm just sitting here. I'm like, okay, you have Deadpool, Wolverine,
Yeah.
a comic book movie that embraces the fandom and has the love of the creator, or I would say one of the spearhead creators, Ryan Reynolds, who plays Deadpool, thoroughly, soaking up like every ounce of, hey, we want to make this not only a good movie, but a send off to all of these other fan films from 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
Basically, you just have the opposite of Borderlands that releases the same weekend as this ends with us, and it flops harder than day because it doesn't honor the fans or the people who love the source material. Then you have this ends with us. Partly I think some of the success isn't just woman power. It's also Blake Lively is Ryan Reynolds' wife. He's number 1 at the box
Yeah.
office. People know that they're going to support her because they also love him. It's kind of a combination of both.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just connecting.
They're
the
both
dots.
very popular, too.
Right.
It's like you already have the movie that's based on a book that was massively popular with women. Blake Lively's already massively popular with women. You got the whole clique with Taylor Swift, her, Ryan Reynolds, like you said. It's just you have 2 mega stars.
Yes.
And a movie that men are going to definitely go see, like Deadpool. Women are definitely going to go see the Blake Lively movie. Like, to me, it was a no-brainer
Yeah.
that these movies are 1 and 2.
And it just-
and Hollywood's just like,
And I couldn't help but like in my mind sit here and think, apart from any of the garbage that they write in this IndieWire article about its success, or just in general looking across the board, I'm like, this is so bizarre to see, like, okay, Inside Out 2, a wholesome family film, actually puts Pixar back at the top and becomes probably the highest grossing film of the year, maybe surpassed by Deadpool. Then you have Twisters, just a fun, thrilling, summer popcorn flick that comes out and actually does pretty decently at the box office and, honors the legacy, the original Left Behind, of just being a good popcorn flick. Then you have Deadpool Wolverine surpassing its box office amount that no people kind of predicted and saw coming, but also at the same time were just blown away by the
They knew
success.
it was going to be huge. I don't that just like Inside Out. I don't think people thought it was going to be $1 billion huge.
No,
the first 2 aren't.
Right.
Yeah.
And then for this to be coming out and do as well as it did, because it's actually a movie that was promised and geared towards women. And like, look, we've seen this. The difference is this is geared towards, I would say, like, just before middle-aged women. You've got, other than your freaking 80 for Brady that are geared towards the gray hairs coming out,
Yeah.
that my mom would look at and be like, I don't care about those damn women. Who cares? I don't care that freaking was it Fonda? Jane Fonda's in it,
Fonda.
or Sally Field. Like, I don't care. And they've even got another one they're promoting that's coming out soon. I forget. It's
some new
another
old-
old woman flick.
Oh, nice.
And I'm just like,
So got what's her name? Pfeiffer.
But
No.
not Michelle Pfeiffer.
No, well, she's in some of them, but oh man, I can't think of that other old lady's name. She's in all kinds of old sappy chick flicks.
There's the one that she's kind of made a comeback from being in the musical.
Rita Moreno.
Rita Moreno,
Yeah, she was
yeah,
in
she-
80 for Brady, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But it's like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, whether Hollywood wants to resist it or not, the fact of the matter is that we're actually seeing just, you put out an entertaining movie for a specific type of crowd and they actually go see it. And yeah, okay, maybe you have this, women power message in This Ends With Us with the idea that, a woman is getting herself out of an abusive relationship, which, hey, more power to you if you're in that kind of relationship. I don't think that's a bad story. I haven't seen the movie, haven't read the book. I don't know what it's about.
I probably won't.
But I probably won't either. Sean, you're going to. Amelia's going to watch that movie with
They
you.
went and saw it together. I don't have to watch it again. I don't have to watch it.
say
Again?
that.
No, I mean, I'm just saying they went to the chicks
book
went to the
club?
theater. Yeah, they went to the theater and saw it.
What'd she think of it?
Oh, she loved it because she said it was very faithful to the book.
Imagine that. I mean, right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Just even women who just want a faithful adaptation of their own
It's
source
crazy.
material.
It's like the simplest things that you would have thought Hollywood would have figured out by now.
Yep.
And it baffles me because it's like it's not rocket science. It's not this like this thing they have to crack like they think it is, but because the only thing they can see is the message, and if it's not baked into every movie, they get confused and they're just like, "Why do you like this? Like, there's nothing in here about the message. Why would anybody want to see this?"
Well, and that, but also I think the opposite of them trying to spoon feed you this message for so long, and that they not only short-side the entertainment factor, but it's like when you actually have things that come out that are just uniquely their own, that in and of itself fits into its own bubble, tells its own story. I mean, even this, like I said, I don't know the content of the book, but I'm just like, we saw the trailer and we thought, oh, that's convenient that it's coming out at the same time her husband has one of the biggest movies. Not to mention, like, she hasn't been on the silver screen since I think that shark movie.
The shark movie, yeah. The Shallows.
Shallows. And then
Decent movie, by the way.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not bad.
And it's like you actually are gearing it towards a woman audience.
Yeah.
That's what I was kind of surprised by. You're not throwing bros in our face.
Isn't that
trying
Oh,
to say
God,
you
yeah.
will like a gay movie?
But no.
You're gonna enjoy it.
But isn't it
and
amazing
then it
that
flopped harder than
you make a movie that
Well,
I was just saying, but isn't it amazing that they made a movie geared towards women based on a book popular with women,
Right.
that actually respects like women's interests, and it comes in number 2 at the box office. They made the Marvels all about women, girl power, and it flopped, and they don't understand where the difference is.
100%.
At.
Yeah.
They're like, well, why did women not go see the Marvels? Because women don't give a crap about comic book movies. Some do, but majority want.
They give a
Colleen
crap about
Hoover's-
Barbies,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It's funny.
Yes.
And you get mad
you
because
make a movie about a doll that most women played with as a kid, and
but then you're
and you crack $1
acknowledging
billion.
But then you're acknowledging the difference between men and women,
Yeah.
and there's no difference. There's
Right.
no difference.
Well, and that was kind of the irony of Barbie's success. And this
Yeah.
is where you found the cultural divide between, like, even right-wing conservatives who wanted to write it off, who had more male-dominated audiences, and then you had female audiences who, conservative and left-wing, who were just like, no, this is what it's like to be. Like, Greta Gerwig was able to form this idea of womanhood in this Barbie movie that appealed to a wide array of
women.
audiences
And
that
it's like,
were women.
we may not have liked it, but we're 30-year-old men.
Right.
I don't expect us to like
it wasn't
Barbie.
geared towards us. And so it is kind of it's interesting because, like, I think of you were just talking about making a movie towards women, and I'm just like, yeah, maybe when you actually know who your audiences are, and you're making movies that support that and amplify it to the degree that people actually want to go out to the theater and see it, maybe you actually will have a hit on your hands. Surprise, surprise.
Crazy. Just crazy.
And along with that, I think it is interesting because we did have D23 this past week.
Yeah, that cracked me up.
And all the sequels that
Yes.
were announced.
I didn't even
Tons.
realize how many there were.
Oh, no, I
until
think it's
was reading
hilarious
through
because when
this.
Bob Iger took back over, he said, we're going to focus on
original
Yeah,
content.
more
Yeah,
original
more
content and less pumping out sequels. And then here we are, D23.
Well, to be fair, I don't know if he said less sequels. He just said quality over quantity.
No,
that
there
was his
quote,
main thing.
That was his main thing, but there was a quote, I have to pull it up, where he mentioned that to do, like, just like with Marvel and all that, doing, like, less constant sequels, but now it's like, but we could do sequels to major IPs. We're just not, and
Right.
it's just funny. It's just funny.
Well, and that's only going to be buttressed now by the success of Inside Out 2.
And again, the lesson that they don't learn is because Inside Out 2 was well made. It respects the original. I mean, from our understanding, we are going to review it soon, I believe.
Probably at the end of the month.
But I have not seen it.
I liked it. I didn't like it better than the first movie,
His
but I
quote
liked
was,
it.
Disney is more broadly going to balance sequels with originals. I'm like, well, I don't know if this is balanced, Bob, but...
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
everything is this movie.
Do y'all
part
have the
two.
article?
Yeah.
I
open?
do, yeah.
Can you read off? Like, I mean, there's a few in there that are originals for Disney Plus, but if you just list the movies,
Yeah, some of them are just live action remakes too, which
Yeah.
I'm considering.
Well, he did
but-
say
Yes,
there's a
agreed.
lot of value in sequels. He did say that, but he was saying, like, they were going to balance it out. Not to me, this isn't balanced.
yeah,
but-
go ahead and just list off.
Well, you got
Sean.
Moana 2, you got another Snow White, you've got Lilo and Stitch, a live action remake. You've got Incredibles 3, not necessary. Toy Story 5,
Not
definitely
necessary.
not necessary.
No.
Frozen 3,
Not
not
necessary.
necessary. Zootopia 2,
Nah. I think it's fine as a
I love
standalone.
Zootopia. I would
did,
watch another
but
one.
I don't
but
think
yeah,
they need
it doesn't need a sequel, but I'm hoping maybe
They have
they'll do
one
something.
original, Elio.
Yeah,
That was the only one.
Freaking Star Wars show, Skeleton Crew.
See, and even the ones that were original, I mean, and I'm
mean, I
not
wouldn't
throwing
even-
Agatha in there,
Yeah,
even though we knew
Agatha
it was
all along,
coming.
yeah.
But all of them are on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And they're all series.
And they're
not movies.
and they're
The
still part
movies-
of massive franchises. They may not be
Right.
direct sequels, but I mean,
Star
Skeleton Crew
Wars.
is still Star Wars.
Yeah.
Marvel, yeah.
Of course, you do have Avatar 3, which we knew
That one's
Ash and
fine.
Fire.
That
Fine.
one's fine. That's the
Freaky
one sequel I'll
Friday
give them.
2.
Yeah, Freakier Friday's stupid.
Yeah, another Tron movie, which it's been long enough that I'm okay
don't-
with a Tron
it's
movie.
Jared
but
Leto.
Oh God, never
Yeah.
mind. Sorry, never mind. Take that back.
Take it back.
Take it back.
Not to mention, Tron Legacy was not bad.
It wasn't, but it wasn't
was
great.
not the return to
Yes.
what they... Because look, you have Tron, which is just a cult favorite. Tron Legacy was supposed to make it a franchise, and it didn't.
So
No.
Tron
So-
Ares is the new one, and
Yeah.
the idea is that someone from like the computer world gets transferred into the real world
Oh,
instead of
great.
someone from the real world going into the computer world. So
Okay.
we'll see.
So
Jared,
it's-
Jared Leto's coming out of the computer and going to be in the real world.
So it's real life.
Yeah.
The dude is a nutso. He's a robot.
Yeah.
He's AI,
Yeah.
human AI
Yeah.
living.
Well, let's see. Another sequel is Mufasa.
Yeah,
Um,
Lion King universe, trying to make that
Andor
into
season
something.
2.
How
which I
many
can't believe
originals
it's
have
getting
there
a
been?
season
Just
2.
Elio?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, the shows and stuff on here too are second seasons. I don't know. That's not
Yeah.
a sequel, really, but
I would agree. Yeah,
Um,
I wouldn't count those as sequels.
yeah, you've got. That's all the sequels. The rest of it is original stuff.
But even the originals, it's a handful.
Hoppers, Win or Lose.
I don't know what
And
that
even
is.
that Hoppers, that's a Disney Plus thing, and it's like
Yeah.
shorts. It's like
Okay.
They're not
animated
original.
shorts.
Yeah, they're series, but there's really
Ironheart.
no. See, that's a franchise still. I mean, it's not a sequel.
Yeah.
All the there's no original movies. I think Elio is the only one, and that's what Pixar.
I think it is Pixar.
Yeah, I don't know what it is or what it's about.
No,
I
they
just know
showed
the
a
name.
teaser. of it,
Mandalorian
but-
and Grogu. I
Oh,
didn't
that's the
even know
movie.
about this.
Yeah.
It's a freaking movie.
Yeah, they announced that. We posted it a while ago.
I just didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
But everything on that list, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, again, kind of piggybacking off what we were just talking about, a return to normal. It's like clearly the dominoes have been aligned, like to knock one over and they all come tumbling down, in the sense that Disney has not only trying to pull back on the reins of the, excess of the Marvel universe and the flops that they had, and even with the we called it out even when we reviewed Deadpool Wolverine favorably. We said that it's going to take more than just one movie.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
especially with such a popular character that Deadpool is, and you having the draw of your Ryan Reynolds and why am I forgetting Wolverine's name?
Jackman?
Hugh Jackman. You're and other spoilers I don't want to mention, but it's like you have these two huge megastars that are pulling in the weight of that film, along with you also have Inside Out 2, which also was reviewed favorably. We will review it here on the show, but I enjoyed it, and it was not a return to normal, but it didn't have anything that was questionable in it. And it's just like, you have to think that with all of these sequels lined up, they are definitely tapping into what people already know intentionally. And if they are striding or they're riding on that line of trying to get back in the good graces of people, and they're using these sequels to do it, I don't necessarily think that's a bad tactic or a bad strategy. I think it's pretty smart, but it is just overwhelming to be like, okay, Disney is now to the point where they've willingly stepped into, hey, we not only need to get back in the good graces of people, but we're not even thinking of originality anymore. We're just going to rest on our laurels and dig up content and just we're gonna put out new content in the name of what we've already got out there.
People are afraid of their original content because of the wokeness. Yep. So if they go back to an original IP, or if they go back to Incredibles, for instance, everybody loved Incredibles 1 and 2. And 2's it's not as good, but it's good.
It still had a lot of people.
It had a lot of people come to see that movie. So they can tap back into the Incredibles with a third movie and tone down some of the wokeness and try to draw people back. If they announce a new movie, a new original thing, people are scared to go see that.
They don't know what to expect.
Yeah, they don't know what to expect.
With the Incredibles and Toy Story and Frozen, you have an idea of what to expect.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still nervous because you don't know what they're going to pull out. But then with Inside Out 2 not being as woke, it's like, okay, maybe we could trust them to make Incredibles 3, Toy Story 5, Frozen 3, whatever other sequels they announce.
Well, and you have that preconceived notion, I think, by parents.
There's going to be lesbians in Frozen 3 for sure.
I wouldn't be shocked, but I mean, I think if they are learning their lesson, there won't be, but I wouldn't be surprised.
But that's the thing. I think you have these preconceived notions by parents. You're exactly right. Of, I already know this material. They can't stray too far from the original, or otherwise it's not. Exactly. Yeah, I know. We will hold them to that, and maybe again enough flops like Lightyear and like was it Strange World? Strange World.
Strange World. Yeah.
Was it Strange World?
I think
Strange Worlds. I can't remember what it's called. But
they
both flopped.
Yeah, they both.
And even all of their post-COVID year, that whether it was The Turning Red that flopped, whether it was, Soul, they had to release these movies. I know, exactly. But it's like their original.
Disney
Elemental didn't do that great, did it?
No.
Yeah, that one flopped too.
None of their movies really.
Actually, I think Elemental did
okay.
Well. I think it actually did pretty well. Wish did not do great.
No, Wish.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. That's
but even
Disney, though.
That was like their 100th anniversary movie, and it really flopped.
But it did, but it didn't. I mean, all of these have seen success on their platform after the fact. And that is where Disney has had the last laugh, is you've had others who have maybe been able to overlook some of the subtleties. And you don't get the turnout in the theater that we know Bob Iger and Disney want to see, and they definitely are disappointed with. But then that's where they know, okay, well, if we can return to these franchises, and we still are holding true to what they are originally, and we're definitely going to get in the old crowd with the same name, I don't know. I think it's a smart play from Disney's perspective. Obviously, I'm still skeptical because I want to see more proof in the pudding. Yeah. Yet at the same time, I'm just kind of tired of not only rehashing and revisiting these old IPs. It's because it's kind of like a shell of what it's like looking back on my childhood and realizing that I hate to say it, but I don't want to compare it to video games, but we've seen a lot of video game remakes. And there's differences in rebuilding a game from the ground up that we have seen that have done really well.
A remaster.
But you see a lot of these of like, well, we're just going to do an HD remaster and release something from old school to current day. But it's like you don't believe that it has enough legs to stand on its own, so you just kind of repackage it to either relive the same success, and it's like, oh, okay, this is what's keeping you spending a lot of money on a new IP. And then again, there are times where studios will spend money on an IP and it doesn't pay off.
Yeah.
But I think that's, again, this is what happens when you go down the road that is so tunnel visioned and closed-minded when it comes to the woke ideology and messaging. When you depend on that so long to carry you through thinking that that's going to be enough, then when it turns out people are tired of it and they're tired, they were able to write it off for a while, but now it's become infested in everything that you do. People are just going to look at you, anything original that you do, questionably, which is why I think it's like what you said, Sean. They're revisiting these things because they know they already have a good taste in people's mouths when you hear these names. So of course they're going to return to it. But that is the ultimate question: is that a return to normal for the industry? Is this something where we're starting to see a turning of the tide? Can we get back to the glory days of Hollywood actually relinquishing control over just this dogmatic, religious cult-like behavior of these creatives who come in there with a woke ideology, who demand it be
with a message
injected into every piece of content that a studio or content creator makes, rather than actually thinking about what is entertaining. And I think we're finally starting to see maybe that twisting and turning of people saying, all right, we tried it for a little while, we're done. And yeah, we can't outright come out and say it publicly, but we're starting to shift back more towards normalcy, which I hope is the case.
I do. I think, like you said, they've had enough misses and enough loss that they realize now, look, they're not going to give up on, I think, whatever ideology they want to put in movies, but they are going to be way more selective. They are going to, like you said, go back to unknown IPs, go back to playing it safe and shoehorning things here and there in. I expect to see a lot more kind of around like House of the Dragon season 2, where we just witnessed a few things in a few episodes where it'll be there, but it won't be like this driving factor that affects the plot. It's just like every now and then it's like, well, we got to slide this in here just so to remind you that this is important.
Check the boxes.
Yeah.
Which and it is weird because there is part of I think you're right, and I think part of what disturbs me about that is it's like they know that brute force works because as they brute force a certain message for so long, even if you get tired of it or it hurts the bottom dollar for just a short period of time, you become numb to its effects that you're willing to almost, by just exhaustive, exasperated, tiresome ways of saying, all right, fine, I don't care.
Yeah.
And then if you become apathetic, well, then they're going to put it in there.
They win,
and then, they win.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like the House of the Dragon stuff annoys me, where on here, at least on this show, we're still going to call it out.
Yeah.
Because there are times where it's like, it's only put in there to underscore a certain like, oh, this is a message for now. This is it's a current dayism.
Yeah.
And they only throw in those current days. I mean, we saw it with The Last of Us, which that series was just, it butchered the game. I mean, I'm sorry. If you go back and play a game from 2012, you realize, or 2013, you realize that half the crap they either insinuated or put in there was amplified in the series. And I think it did a worse job, even though obviously I know it's popular with most people and they're coming out with season 2, which that trailer released.
I mean,
recently.
critics have called it the best video game adaptation ever made.
Well,
Brandon.
of course,
I don't understand why you're hating on.
If Bowl would have had a hand in it, he would have done a way better job.
Oh,
but no, I still think you need a fight from that perspective, and the best way you can fight as an audience member is to simply, not go to the theater and support the crap that is pushing the message. I think when you see movies like Twisters, I'll even say this about another favorable thing about A Quiet Place Day One. There was nothing woke in it. There was no kind of message in it. It was a straightforward milquetoast story, but thankfully there was no agenda. I didn't feel like they were trying to push anything on me, which again, I'm happy to see.
Yeah.
Because then I can just grade the movie on its merit, and it fell short there, but I don't have to grade it based on, oh, you got this right and this was solid, but damn it, you had to inject that stupid message in there and it just ruined it all for me.
Yeah.
And I really do. I'm really, really hoping that we're finally starting to see the turning of the tide, and we're getting out of this last 6-7 years of this garbage being just foisted upon us. I really, really hope that's the case.
I think that's one of the reasons, going back to Deadpool breaking the billion, is that's one of the most attractive things about the movie. After you see it once, it's such a breath of fresh air that it brought me back to see it again. And I would probably see it a third time if somebody wanted to go see it again. It's just the fact that it doesn't include or even pokes fun at some of the woke ideology that's been infecting Hollywood. It pokes fun at that, and it's like, okay, great, thank you. We're finally able to laugh and be funny. We're finally able to make fun of this.
Right.
That's good.
Just like what Vince Vaughn was talking about last week.
Yeah.
And it's like, there are movies that we consider iconic classics from when we grew up because not everything was on the table.
Yeah.
You could poke fun at everything.
Yeah.
And it was like, you're right, Deadpool and Wolverine is kind of it was like a little bit of we're allowed to make fun of that again?
Yeah.
Like there's little bits of that in there that are sprinkled throughout that you're like, hopefully, yes, if it's this successful and it takes Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool to pull it off, so be it. But if it opens the floodgates of people who are willing to kind of venture down there, I mean, we've already been seeing this over the last several years with stand-up comedians who are just like, nah, we're not letting you invade our space. We're not letting you take over and try to wokeify our and thankfully, stand-up comedy has been the last bastion of like everything is on the table. There's nothing taboo.
Yeah.
And
Dave
thankfully,
Chappelle and his Netflix series. Like, I don't agree with most of what he says politically and things like, our opinions would differ big time. But the fact that he can make fun and tell jokes about the trans community the way that he does, and I'm just like, I'm fine. It's fine. That's how you want to live your life. Go for it, whatever. But don't make me have to be a part of that. But it's like Dave Chappelle just rips into it in a way that most people will not do. Yeah. And I think it's like, yes, it's the stand-up comics, if they can come back to being able to talk like that and make fun of everything equally, then go for it. And I think that's again, like Deadpool does that for me. Yeah. Like it
I just saw either today or was it yesterday, it was like was it 10-year anniversary or 15-year anniversary of Tropic Thunder coming out? And I'm just like, it blew my mind because I'm like, damn, Tropic Thunder. I mean, Robert Downey Jr.
15
years.
Face.
Let me pull that up.
Wear black everything.
Right. I mean, even freaking Tom Cruise in that movie. It's just, and Simple Jack. I mean, it's funny because Ben Stiller's turned into him.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's like he's living out that identity. But I'm just like,
what do you mean, you people? What do you mean, you people? I love it. Yeah.
And I'm just so like,
good. Yeah, it came out in 2008, so it'd be its 15 years.
Wow. Yeah. And I'm just crazy. Like, it's been so long since we've literally been able to, laugh at ourselves and laugh at these things that they didn't make things. It wasn't inappropriate and drive people away. No, it brought people together because we could all laugh at each other.
Everything. Yeah.
Yes, and everything was just. You were less divided when these jokes were on the table, and so. I just, when you see something like a Deadpool Wolverine get close, and you even hear critics respond negatively in that way, you're like, yes, we're almost there. Yeah. We're on the cusp of just breaking open wide.
So many mainstream outlets gave that a low score. Like IGN, I think, was a fairly low score, and I just laughed. I'm like, you all are idiots.
Yep. Because, again, they feel the loosening of the grip of control, of controlling the narrative and controlling the message. And the elites have this perspective, and they control the narrative in the way that they want society to be, shackled. And it's like, it's sad because it's like you're talking about an industry where art is supposed to be freeing, not in the way of perversion, but in the way of being able to join, one hand across the aisle to the other, because we can all kind of laugh at ourselves, but also it's supposed to elevate the normal person into elite status. You're supposed to be able to have commentary on these things and speak about them candidly, such that they don't cause division. And that's we can't have that because the overlords don't want it. We got to stick to the message. And if we get off the beaten path, oh no.
I do want to say I find it hilarious still that critics are always one step behind with Marvel. It was like, other than Iron Man, early Marvel critics were like, oh, we don't know about this. Fans loved it. Then they're like, oh, we loved it. Then fans hated it. So they stopped praising Marvel and started bashing Marvel again. Now it gets the Deadpool and Wolverine, and they're on the bash Marvel bandwagon again. And then it's like, crap. Fans like this.
Really like this.
It's like they don't actually understand what part of Marvel.
There is no superhero fatigue. It's just crappy movie fatigue.
They don't understand what part of Marvel fans like and don't like. They're just like,
well, they're always one step behind.
Yes,
they always want to be lockstep with what they consider. Unless it deeply cuts through their,
because they praise the Marvels, and then it's like, and the fans hated it, and now it's like, oh, we hate Deadpool, and it's like, no, but fans like that.
They're always one step behind. Yep. All right, I think we're ready to move into our final segment of the night. That is our story time.
It's story time, where the podcast members tell their stories.
I gotta ask, like,
Story time.
where'd the lisp come from? Like,
her-
whose idea
her-
was that?
Aaron,
Hers?
that was Aaron's.
That was her.
Well, I
She
think you
just-
asked her to do. She had the lisp character, but I thought you asked her to do it for the podcast.
Okay.
Because she's done that lisp before.
Right, but it's weird because I think when we made the open,
But
like,
why the Storytime segment opening? Like, why have the lisp? I'm just curious.
I don't know.
Maybe she chose to do that. Maybe you asked her just to have a different voice, and she chose to do that.
I think I don't know. I can't remember. I can't remember if like we were spitballing and like because we were all in here when she did it.
Yeah.
Because she was on the show. It was like shortly after we did. No, was it before? Or
Oh, she'd
after
done the
Margaret?
list before, but like when she recorded for that, we weren't here when she did the Storytime recording.
Yeah, I wasn't.
I wasn't here for that.
Really?
Anyways. Yeah.
I just didn't know if there was a story behind that.
No story. No story behind story time.
Okay.
No.
All I know is I added the list, or I had two versions. And I think I may still have the original.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought there was one without a lisp and one with, and I just thought it was
Maybe.
funnier with
Yeah.
the lisp. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is
she-
good with that music.
Yeah, see, I know I've heard her do the lisp voice before, but like I didn't know why it and how it ended up as our story time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's the story
Yeah.
for you right there.
Maybe she knows. You watching, Aaron?
She ain't watching.
She's not.
She's got babies. She's got put to bed. She's probably tired. She's probably worn out from all them
She
children.
got old Yeller room.
No, I wouldn't talk about that. My
What'd you say?
gosh.
He said, "Put him to bed." And my mind went to Old Yeller.
Oh.
Watching too much Deadpool.
Jeez.
I was gonna say.
I watched it again over the weekend, and he has that quote about
Yeah. You old Yellered me, or Yellered somebody. Yeah.
What does he say in the second? Was something about Ronnie Millsap? I can't remember. There's something in the second or third.
I don't
the,
know.
The first one about that. That's pretty good. But yeah, no, that was not where my mind was going.
Okay.
Yeah.
My mind was going towards our story
My
time
mind
segment
always goes
tonight.
to dark humor.
That is true.
And what
But
is that?
Our story time segment happens to fall on. It's talking about a time you were locked out.
Many times. I'm terrible.
And this
about
could be
that.
anything. This could be social media. This could be your house. This could be your car.
Yeah.
Locked out of work.
Okay, typically
You're fired.
the social media stuff's not. I mean, it's annoying, but I always have enough like of the backup stuff that I can change my password, do that. My problem is always locking myself out of other things, or at least more so used to. Knock on wood. I'll do it again. Like,
We're going to get out there next time we get in his car.
but yeah.
my keys in my car.
Well, no,
The
there's
amount of times you've left your keys at Brian's
Yeah.
next door,
Yeah.
having to wake him up when we're done with the show, and you're like, "Hey, Brian, my keys are in your shed."
It's not. It's usually my water bottle or my iPad once. I think
great.
so. It's not always my keys.
Yeah.
It's something.
Yeah, it is something. That's what I'm saying. Like I'll forget something and then lock myself. I've done that. I've locked myself out of my house, but usually I use a crowbar to pop myself back in the house. So that's not a problem.
Really?
Crowbar.
Holy crap!
Dang.
I used to.
I got a
Breaking and
really
entering.
well. I got a flat one, and then I can wedge the door open enough to slide a thing through there, and now everybody knows how to get into my house.
I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it one day, and I'm just gonna be sitting inside, and you're gonna see
I
me,
used to work.
and then I'm gonna be like,
I got a really funny story.
and just walk out.
I won't name names. I mean, I doubt any legal action would happen at this point, but I won't name names just, to protect the person. But I did show you the video of a time at an employer's where
Oh, that was good.
we got locked out of the office, and there's like the wall that goes into the office. Like literally you could climb up the ceiling and
There's
just
a drop
go
ceiling.
over. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the drop ceiling. You could just, and literally, like a coworker, like in order to get into the office, he climbed up, went over, and you could see even the security cam footage. I rewound it and like actually recorded it on my phone because we were laughing so hard.
Like,
It's
falls
this-
through.
He like literally, you see these panels fall, and then his legs just drop down, and he's dangling. And then he just lets go and opens the door, but all the panels in the office are just went boom, like on the ground.
It literally looked like the security.
We
footage.
rigged it back up though. Nobody ever questioned it.
It looks like the security footage of like when you see those people breaking into liquor stores in the
Yeah.
middle of the
And
night,
they fall through
and they
the
fall through the
Yeah.
ceiling. That's what it
Yes,
looked like.
that's what it
Yeah.
looked like, and we
Great.
died laughing. I was like, well, if you get locked out of someplace,
No,
Good.
I remember. I've never. Again, yeah, knock on wood. I hope it doesn't happen. I've never been locked out of my house, but I remember being a kid, coming home from school, and my parents. I remember I used to have like a little necklace that had my house key on it. I wear it with me so that I could get in the house when I got home from school. And if I ever forgot it, there was a rock in the back that had a key in it, and it was supposed to be this invisible rock that you couldn't tell, and you could go get the key and let yourself in, and it was only there that we knew. And of course, that was always something. I don't know if it's just like it can't be just a Kentucky thing, but there was always like, I'll leave a key under the mat. And, you know, and you can get it.
Have something, yeah.
And so I think obviously that just became so well known over time that people stopped
just
doing
look under
that.
the mat.
So then there became like a hiding place to put the key. Or what we used to do, and I remember doing this. This kind of strays a little bit off topic, but it wasn't that I was locked out, but I was getting DVDs ready for the senior video from school, and I had to copy these DVDs, and I had to get 100 copies in one night. Well, one of our buddies, Darnell, failed to get these copied. Or actually, no. I think it was, it was that. He failed to copy them. Well, he brought them, or I got them back from him. And I ended up texting and calling Keith, and I was just like, I can't get all of these done. Could you help me burn? Like, it was like 25 of them.
I thought me, you, and him, all three were supposed to do it.
We were.
And he didn't get...
But you had yours, and he had his, and he wasn't able to get all of his done. And I had I was doing the most. I did like 50, and I think I gave each of y'all like 25. Well, then like ended up like calling Darnell, and Darnell's like, man, something just happened like with my computer. I was like, dude, what? And he's like, I can't copy all these DVDs. And I was just like, okay. I'm like, well, how many did you get? And he was like
one or two.
I tried to get as many as I could. I was like, how many? Like, I gotta have these by tomorrow. He was like, I got 2. And I'm like, dude,
it was taking hours to like write it or copy it for some reason.
He was using the old version of Nero.
Something right. Something on his computer. So I was like, dude, you got to bring them back. I was like, I got to have them done by tomorrow. Like I told our teacher, I was like, I would have these by tomorrow. And so I somehow got them from him, but then I had to call Keith to like come over at like 2 a.m. because it was like we did this overnight, and there was this window that didn't lock properly in my parents' house, and so I told him which one to come by, and I was like, obviously I can't wake my parents up, and we have ADT, so I'm like, well, I can't go out the front door because it's on, and if I'd like turn it off, it beeps, it's loud, they'll wake up. I was like, come to the side window. It was like, thankfully, it's like on the, it's almost floor level. I was like, I can hand you the DVDs. You can hand me what you burned.
That was me bringing you, because
I the finished copies of what you had.
I brought you what I had and took some of the blank discs that you had that weren't.
Right.
Because the computer I had wouldn't write on minus R, plus R. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, it's so freaking weird, man.
Yeah. So what happened was
RWs.
I got the ones I was supposed to do done, but then the ones Darnell was supposed to do or whatever, I couldn't do all those because I didn't have they weren't the right disc type.
Yeah.
But Brandon had because we swapped discs.
Tell me that wasn't a money-making
Brandon,
scheme.
yeah.
It was.
Right there.
So stupid.
So I was like,
minus R plus R makes no damn sense.
Yeah.
I was like, sorry, I can't copy all these because these discs are like plus R. And
that's right.
Yeah, it was
and
so
I was like,
stupid.
dude, I was like, I know, I get it.
I still did better than Darnell. I got the ones I...
But I asked him, I was like, dude, can you got to bring them by tonight so I can finish burning.
I brought him the ones I couldn't do, and you gave me some discs I could do or something that way to kind of offset. But I mean, it's still...
So I wasn't locked out, but I had to go and secretly unlock the window so he could pass them through to me. My parents never knew. Set up the rest of the night till like 6 a.m. burning these discs, watching Rudy. It was like felt inspired. But yeah, it was just one of those things where I'm like, I knew though, and I actually did use that same window to get in the house one time of being locked out, and somebody probably did think I was breaking in because I still had to climb up a ways.
Yeah,
but I could get up to that window, and I knew that all I had to do was take the screen off, and I knew that it didn't lock. They've got it fixed since then.
Yeah.
But it didn't lock, and I knew that I could get in and like push it up and hoist myself in the room, and boom, I got into my house, and I was able to unlock the door.
Nice.
And so that was one time I locked myself out.
Yeah, I've crawled through a window before too.
Yeah.
Yep. Sean, what about you?
I've been locked out of every house that I've lived in. Well, not this one, not the new house. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and do that too. When I lived with my dad, like I wasn't always fat, and I could get through the dog door because my dad's back door had a dog door, and it would have like this little wooden panel thing that blocked the opening, but you could just pop it, hit it, and it would pop right into the house, and then I could squeeze through the dog door if necessary. So I've done that before. When I lived in Bardstown, in both houses, I've locked myself out of the house, but I always leave one window unlocked in the house.
Just in case.
Yes, and the window that I would climb through usually required a ladder, because I would make sure I didn't want somebody else to get in.
Right.
So it'd be one that I could access with a ladder, or I could back the car up and climb up on the roof of the car and get in some way or another. But I've done that. I've locked my keys in the car technically I didn't. I thought I locked my keys in a car, and this was when I was a teenager. Mm-hmm. My dad owned an auto glass business, so it was like, what the hell? I broke a window of the car to get into the car.
Well, my dad will replace this.
Yeah, my dad will get me a piece of glass tomorrow for nothing, for free. And so I broke a back window.
Oh my gosh.
And climbed and unlocked the car, got inside. My keys weren't in there; they were in my jacket pocket the whole time. So I broke a window for no reason at all.
That's not good.
And then I was just gonna throw out there that I've definitely had a fight with my wife and been locked out.
Are you serious? Are you serious? Amelia's locked you out of the house.
Locked out, not of the house. Locked out of something else. Yeah. So, if you know what I mean.
As Boy Meets
That
World,
happens.
as Boy Meets World likes to put it.
That's when I need the meme of freaking the guy from No Country for Old Men when he goes.
Yeah.
That's when I need that.
I was like, there's an episode
I've been locked out
in Boy Meets World where Corey witnesses a fight between his mom and dad. And he overhears his mom tell his dad, she's like, well, you're grounded. And he's like, can she do that? And he's like, in certain ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So, okay. I like that.
It happens.
That's definitely a certain kind of locking out.
That's right. Different kind of lockout.
Knock on wood. I hope it don't happen.
No.
Knocking on wood. It might after she won't watch this, so that's.
Well, you'll be knocking on wood after that. Getting locked out. That was good. That was good story time. I enjoyed that. That was great.
I liked it. It was fun.
I think it just proves that as men, we've all locked ourselves out of something.
Oh yeah.
Like I honestly I can't remember a time where my wife has said like I locked myself out of the car or I left the key like.
Right.
It's always me.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like it's a man thing.
It is.
It's got to be a man thing.
I think it's just like kind of you're in a, like, to me, I know I'm in a routine. Mm-hmm. Like, I finally got to the point where, and I think it was sometime in high school, I do a 3-point check of, like, keys, wallet, phone. Mm-hmm. And it was like when I just started noticing, it was like, yeah, the few times that I locked myself out were always, like, in middle school, where I would, like, just forget to put my keychain on or something, or my necklace with the key on it on. And it was like, and I think it was part of that's one thing I can't do is forget that. Cause I don't think I've never locked my keys in my car. Again, knock on wood, hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I might have done it in high school and it might not have just been my car. It was like my mom and dad's, but they thankfully either had like a spare key.
I did mine a few months ago and just shimmied a thing down and hit the, pulled the little pop. Like it has like a lip on it, so I was able to get a little hook under there.
And I have
or something. Yeah.
Actually also, I didn't do this, but I house sat for 2 sisters at my church, and actually the person they had house sitting before me locked herself out of their house.
Nice.
And it was hilarious because Bethany is the woman. She's the culprit. She sometimes watches her and Michael sometimes watch. They're my friends from Nebraska, and maybe I don't know if they'll listen. They better listen. But she locked herself out, and they do have a doggy door. However, it's usually blocked. Mm-hmm. Well, she was able to shimmy up the enclosure that they have in front of it because it just like slides into place. And she was thin enough to get herself through the doggy door and open up. Because the thing is we never, they never locked the door going out of or from the garage into the house. Mm-hmm. It was always just like the garage and the door of the garage was locked because it's an attached garage. But I always thought that was funny because I'm like, how do you like house sit for somebody and then lock yourself out of a house sit?
Yep.
Like that's just irresponsible, Bethany.
Yeah.
Irresponsible. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. That was good. I like that topic. Randomly came up with that.
That was a good one.
It's a good one. Right there at the bottom of your screen, like, share, subscribe on all of our favorite social media. Oh my gosh, Bethany texted. She is listening. Hold on. I gotta say this. She's they are watching. She said we are watching. Excuse me, I'm not perfect, and I am definitely not thin enough to do that anymore. I didn't say it. Michael, you're proof. I didn't say that. I do remember that.
What's their last name?
Warner.
Michael Werner's watching right now.
Yeah, they're watching
They were
together.
watching her. I noticed
Yeah.
it. When
Don't
you said-
say it. I'm not saying
On
nothing.
YouTube.
Oh, on
Because we're
YouTube.
back on YouTube.
Because we were banned last
I,
year.
I noticed Michael watching earlier, and I was curious if it was the same person when you said Michael and Bethany.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were locked out of YouTube last week, but we're not anymore.
Yep.
We're back on.
Lots of locking out.
See, I name dropped y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Love
Indeed.
it. And everybody else can tune in, like, share, subscribe on all of our favorite social media accounts at the bottom of your screen. Red Moon Book on Facebook, Red Moon Tweet on
Michael
X.
wants bros too. He's mentioned it twice now, so he definitely wants bros too.
He's been looking forward to Bros.
Yes.
He was one of the only 10 people that saw that in the theater.
Oh wow. Good on him.
Oh, man. Yeah, Bros too.
I've heard the first
Dreams
first
come
few minutes
true.
are great.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, they
Knock on
were
wood.
knocking on some wood. In that.
All right, Red Moon Tweet on X, Red Moon Pics on Instagram, and of course, search for Red Moon Productions on both YouTube and Rumble, live there every single week.
Whoa.
As always, there's that old-fashioned way of tuning
What?
in, Keith. What is that way of tuning in?
If they're going to email us, is that
Yeah.
what you're talking about? Like
Email.
sending us
Put
a
your serious
message?
face on.
That's what I'm talking about.
Where? I'll tell you where.
Tell us where.
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
That's beautiful. I just love it. Every time you
Calm
say
on
it.
that one was really good. Calm.
Oh,
was good.
deepening that voice.
cube into my chest.
It was very prime. Very prime.
Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Sorry, I'm just thinking how terrible that line is.
Thank you.
Keep cheating. I'm sorry.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.